Yo, 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 yo. What is up, guys? Man, long time. Funky Pizza Productions in the chat. Batar, Mike, Ape, AMC Ape, what's up? Okay, guys, so I'm gonna talk about a bunch of things here. We're gonna go back and forth. This video, the cycle is back, is just going to cover the cycle. I'm currently looking at DWAC, and this has a lot to do with what I'm going to talk about here in 1 second. POI on AMC comes up early February, so we'll cover that as well. On the Discord earlier, we were tracking this pattern, and why this video is titled "The Cycle is Back" is because this right here, man, is a cryptocurrency, and guess what? It's not just any cryptocurrency, man. It's LRC. Typically, we see the correlation between stocks and cryptocurrencies very closely related together. This happened last night, and we started tracking this right here, dude. It's got me all pumped and stuff because I think that we're starting to see this cycle correlation back now that we are in what is this shift in the markets, right? After coming out of accumulation for so long, I think the markets are finally, the small mid-cap stocks are finally getting ready to turn around for good. And yeah, we got our first contender here, DWAC. Look at this, bro. It's following, man, to a T. It's crazy. Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at LRC. Okay. Let's take a look at LRC. All right, so we got LRC. What happened last night, guys? This right here that you're looking at happened last night. Okay? And if you overlay the two together, why is DWAC doing the same thing? Why is DWAC following LRC down here? Okay, you look at the two. It's been following since the morning. And it's calling for the $55 range and then a dump. So what this is telling me, man, and it's like going back to the whole Ethereum Classic thing, right? AMC Ethereum Classic. Ethereum Classic just started to pump a few weeks ago. We saw the correlation. I talked about it a little bit here. And I kind of went up over the positive, the negatives of what I see happening with AMC in the mid to short term. But this is good because again, the more we start to see these stocks track, and you know, the thing about these patterns too is like they have a pretty strong correlation. Like once they start tracking, these are just natural fibs, guys. They're reference patterns. We get natural fibs from these patterns. So there's nothing wrong with using them. The algorithm is focusing right now on these this little pump sequence here, right? This rally that we're having on DWAC, and it tends to just play over on the stocks that are next in the cycle. And in this case, we have DWAC, right? DWAC is right now the talk, man. It's the talk of the year right now. Early, establishing, going strong. All right, Hazel, what's up, man? Mike, Wesley, Devin, Brennan, Tramadol, back. What's up? CFATS. All right, and like I said, man, on the last video, that's what I'm focusing on this year is to talk about the entire market, right? We're gonna talk about what is trending, what is happening, talk about the cycle, and you know how this approach right here is a good approach in my opinion to better understand the markets right now. So I'm going to keep this up. We're going to come back to it here. It says that in about an hour, it should be trading up here. We'll see what happens. Right now, the correlation is great. I mean, it's tracking to a T, and it's calling for a peak around 55. Now, a few other things, guys, and this is where I'm going to pull up AMC. All right, guys, and for those coming in, welcome to TWE Charts, where we take a cycle analysis approach in the markets. It's fun. It's awesome. And we are covering DWOC right now. I'll be covering a few other stocks. Now, this is the other thing that we look at when it comes to reference patterns in the market. So here is AMC. Now, you might be looking at this and you're like, bro, that does not look anything like DWOC right now. And it doesn't, right? But from the initial trigger here, we had a trigger December 22nd. That's where we started to see some volume coming in. That is where this cycle begins, in my opinion. And this is what we call a series of reaccumulation phases, right? On AMC, we have the same thing. In November of 2020, has its first rally. It goes up about 300%, comes back down. January, 1,000%, and then June, 700%. Okay, in between these volatility zones, we have a reaccumulation phase, and they're all different. They all last, they're from November to January, about 2 months, and then we have the 4-month cycle down here in January, right? So here's the thing about this. This is where it makes sense. So January, we have our first level. This is our first target, our first fib at 28. November, we have 18. Okay, we don't have June yet. June is all the way up here at around 57. So now, okay, these are not lining up, right? They're not lining up in time, but the levels are relevant. The levels are relevant to track. So I think this is the final reaccumulation phase. I think that once we reach that $58 range, potentially even 60, they're going to introduce some contracts, some new contracts in the chain. And guys, that is where, in my opinion, it's just no more. They're trying to collect premiums now from, maybe the $70, $80, $90, $100 strike, where the stock typically turns around. So that's the warning sign right there. It's waiting for that to happen. That's the warning sign. Okay. Cool. So we're at 48. 58. See what happens here in the next few minutes. Okay, let's take a look at AMC. And guys, I found some shit. Make sure you guys smash that like button, man. Support the chat, the stream. Okay, so I recently ran the pattern scanner. It has, we normally take the structure of just the price. That's the, that is the, what we call the target ticker is scanning for is AMC, and then it scans the entire market, finds reference patterns, and then it spits them out, right? But in this case, because the price has fallen so much, there's not a lot of patterns in the market that are going to pop up. So another way I scan the markets is using this indicator down here, changes. And I went ahead and ran this and found some correlation with Mara in 2018. Okay, right now that's probably one of the, and there was also the UVXY came up with a lot of correlation as well. But yes, I do believe we are in accumulation, guys. This is where we trade sideways for months, sometimes even a year. I mean, back in 2020, okay, it took us a year to come back and turn around before anything, right? So Mara in 2018, okay, look at what it had done, man, before it turned around for good. But back in 2018, the stock, it went up to $40. Went up to 40. Guys, my stream is acting all funky. What's going on? All right, let me know if the stream is choppy or not, but it's good on now. It's good on my end. It might be a little choppy though. Okay, all in its time, guys. That's the way the cycle works. So the Ethereum Classic video talks about this break we had, this break in the markets. And the ugly thing about this break, guys, is that the cycle tends to just not work as it used to, at least. When there's a lot of volatility, there's more volume, okay? There's way more volume coming in, which means you're going to see the algorithm, on overload. It's just clocking over that threshold, trying to maintain it. It's rhythm, right? The cycle's rhythm. So normally it works in our favor a little bit better. After the whole thing happened with Ape in August 2022, it all went downhill from there. We didn't see any volatility on AMC. But now that we're trading in this, $4 range, we've been there for quite some time now. Let's pull up this down here. We got Mara. And Mara, all it's doing, guys, is showing us how this accumulation phase works. Some accumulation phases will last years, but because AMC has entered this a lot quicker, it also had the June event here, took place almost 3 years ago. So looking at that too, Mara doesn't have that down here. It fell way before. There's also less volume. But pretty much is just a pump and dump that corrects itself. And there's a lot of stocks that have done this already before. So Mara is just one of many. Okay. Let's see if this is the one. It is. Okay. Dude, where the heck is it, man? This is NVAX. This is Mara. Okay, so I was looking at this July volume in 2018. Okay, from April to July. So April we experienced some volume. On the last POI we did. So the one in October. Okay, we did experience volume. It started to climb and then it came back down, back into a distribution phase. So this that you're looking at right here is the volume that I'm expecting to see on this next POI. So I know, guys, like the correlation, and here's the thing, right? The correlation with positive POIs versus, inverse POIs is not great. Like inverse POIs, all it means, the way that we at least interpret it, is that there's either the price starts to decrease, but I also bulk it in with POIs that don't have anything, that are just flat. There's only been 2 major inverse POIs like where we've seen the price fall like drastically, and that was back here in November of 2021 and then August of last year. So those 2 have been like the major inverse POIs. The rest have just been pretty flat. We've only experienced 5 that have been positive. And what that means is that the price goes up at least 70% inside. Doesn't change from the fact that during that 13-day window, 5 out of 6 we've experienced volatility inside. So that's still a strong correlation. So the next one is coming up here in February. Now, looking at the macro chart here, and there's a lot that needs to happen for the price to turn around for good. But the first thing that needs to happen, and this is just based on technicals, guys, is we need to cross this descending resistance trend line. And that is because on every single pattern that we have, every single reference pattern that we have, right, we have Bitcoin here, right? Bitcoin, its own version of the same thing. We have a pump and dump, volatility zone, some kind of news, some catalyst comes out, right? Price pumps 100%, and then we have it coming back down. So final stop loss, grabs liquidity, starts dumping. Bitcoin does the same thing in 2018. And then once it turns around from what is this, short-term accumulation phase, it crosses that descending resistance trend line first. That's the first thing that needs to happen. That is where I will switch my my macro trajectory here on AMC, right? Because right now we're still descending, so it's not fair to say, right, AMC is going to turn around right now. We got to pay attention to the volatility zones, right? We got one in February coming up. And then we have one in April coming up as well. So both of these volatility zones that are coming up are just, again, the opportunity where the price typically tends to, climb. It's not guaranteed. That's typically where we experience it. So if it starts to cross and retests the $7 range, guys, that is almost 100% move. From 350 to 7 is 100, right? So say the price comes down to the $4 range and then goes up to 750 to just retest this trend line. That's 85%. So it might not look like much on the macro chart, but we got stocks right now like DWAC doing that, right? It's up 80%. It's in a range. It's not up. It's 85. It's up like 70% today, but from the bottom, it's up way more than that. But regardless of that, this 13-day window allows for the price to rally at least 70%. If it is going to happen, that is what we track, that 70% mark. So it's not that much because we've dropped so much from the conversion here and the split, which sucks. All right, but that's the first step, guys. That's what we need AMC to do for it to turn around. We're going to see that. And then, in the long term, we're going to have to make sure still that fundamentals align with this thesis, right? Because at the end of the day, they don't matter for short-term moves, but they do matter for long-term moves. If the stock does not have good fundamentals, then you're going to get a Bed Bath & Beyond, right? 2.0. I personally don't think that's the case, but you always have to have that in check and in mind with everything. It is important. Now, Joe, what is up, man? That's Bitcoin. That's one of these other patterns that we're tracking are also calling for a break above that descending trend line. So this is what we have in the cycle. Let's pull up the cycle now. You can see when it, pops back up. First, I got to check something. Okay, cool. Here's the cycle. Man, and all the POIs we're tracking right now for like all stocks, guys, is late January time going into February is where I'm tracking most stocks to break out. So there's a lot of stocks, guys, I think have this potential. AMC following this breakout here, which hopefully happens. If it does happen, man, this is going to start finally looking good here for Amy. Now, I don't want to see it climb below the $3 range or get close to 2, because at that point, if we start to see that happen, the closer you get to 1, guys, the worse it gets for the chances of it actually going into the penny range. That's not a good look for any stock. You don't want any stock to get down there. Now, if there's talks about another split, once it goes down there, they're further diluting the shareholder, and then at that point, it's an endless loop here. You get a Xella 2.0. You get a what's another stock that's done that? I'm thinking stock that they've done that, broken that with Mullen. Those two is just reverse split after reverse split. It's just endless. The stock keeps going down. I mean, it's not fun. That's not something you want to see. So if this is going to correct itself, it needs to bounce in this range. Now, the stocks that do this, they bounce. You see a pretty good bounce off of this, right? So, for example, we got Carvana, which I'm tracking patterns for right now, potentially bullish patterns for Carvana. Right, this thing goes, and it's been the one stock I've compared to as far as the price goes. It fell a lot faster than AMC, right? But it goes from 400 down to $3, right? Taking the split into account, same thing, right? From 400 down to $3 and then back up to 60. It was the stock that had probably one of the largest gains last year. With an option chain, Upstart, Carvana, Mara, all these guys had and were leaders last year, 2023. So you can see that, right? It's in accumulation, enters a reaccumulation phase, and then it goes into advancing. Very quickly, it got to that $60 range. And right now, it looks to be in a macro accumulation phase. You can see right here with this pattern we keep seeing in the markets, man. This right here, this little M-shaped pattern. V reversal with a low cup. A continuation. I keep seeing this happen. We just saw it happen with DWAC, and we're also seeing it happen with SPY. So a lot of these patterns, or phases, Wyckoff phases, right? It just gives AMC that green light, right? If it does end up bouncing here, I think we're finally going to see a turnaround, man. But as always, guys, you got to be careful with AMC right now. It is in a vulnerable state, so whatever ends up happening here, I think it's going to happen quickly. Going into the POI. And after that, man, it should be fun, man. It should be fun after that. So AMC, okay. Let's bring back DWAC here. We were also covering that. It's up 70% today. Few patterns we were tracking for that we're calling for $58. We were using AMC as a reference pattern here. Okay. And we were just using it for the levels, nothing more. The structure is not the same at all. We're just using it for the levels November, January, and then June. Okay, all of these look good so far. We have January hitting on the 17th, November on December 26th, and then it looks like this little face that's happening right here Okay, is going to be our last reaccumulation phase before this thing starts to spring back up to 58. And one thing I said was to watch out for options being added to the chain, because usually the way this works right now is the 55s are the ones that are the highest for most of the contracts available right now on the chain. So 55, if they start adding, 70, 80, anything from that, like we saw with AMC, same thing, right? The highest ones they had were like 70, and then they started adding the 145s. After they did that, people bought those, collected premiums, and then the price started to climb back down. So based on natural fibs, that is what the price is calling for right now, is around 60, anywhere from 55 to 60. This is the moving average, so you got to remember that there's that giant wick sometimes. Clocks over very quickly, so could be higher. Who knows? But we are tracking a micro pattern here. This is LRC. It's starting to stray away a little bit. There was one more I was tracking, and it was, so it's down here, guys. Let me show you that little M-shaped pattern I'm talking about, which is right here. Okay, this is Ethereum Classic, and then up here is LRC. Okay, both of these have that M-shaped pattern that we pulled up with Carvana, and then also SPY. SPY is doing that right now. Right here. This is Carvana. You guys can see the ticker too, right? Yeah, you can see the ticker. Okay, cool. So yeah, Carvana, we've got a reaccumulation phase right here. Accumulation, reaccumulation, advancing. Man, this thing has contracts like going up to like 300 or something. So yeah, no, if we start to see Carvana turn around here, crossing that $55 range, there's a lot of liquidity right there. So I think once it crosses that, you're going to see a V reversal here. It's just going to go straight to resistance up here at 105. I think this is going to be another gainer again this year. There is SPY, which we're tracking. Here's the micro V reversal here. I used literally Ethereum Classic for this, guys. It's the craziest part. Look at that. Ethereum Classic. I used this on the 17th. Okay, coming up to the first level of resistance. Could potentially flip here. Okay, there are a few patterns we're tracking that historical patterns found by the pattern scanner on SPY. This one here is calling for a breakdown, as well as this one, a short-term breakdown. But just just because we just crossed resistance, right? Macro resistance at 480. A few charts are showing us that, like the Webull chart had already crossed it, but TradingView's chart from this exchange here has crossed it last week, and it's young, right? We're not at 500 yet. I think we're going to get there this year, but we're either going to have a short-term fake out one last time. That Ethereum Classic pattern would potentially flip here, hit that 475, okay, on support, and then start reversing back up into February, because a lot of the POIs are happening in February, man. So kind of makes sense. The markets are trading up in a new range after that happens. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do something. I'm going to talk about some of the macro plays we're tracking on the Discord. Okay. And share those with you guys. So here are my my picks for the year. This is not financial advice. This is just my approach, man, in the markets here. All right, we'll start off with a stock that I think is going to gain this year. It's going to kind of beat the markets here. But we got Sava. I think Sava is heading on to really interesting chart here. I'm going to talk about this macro setup here because this stock has actually held up decently well from the dump. I mean, it didn't come back down to the lows that most stocks have seen, right? Like Plug, ChargePoint, AMC. One could even say GameStop is holding up pretty well because it hasn't came down to the lows yet. So it's one way or another, right? You get stocks either pumping and dumping all the way down, or you get stocks coming down to that that reaccumulation phase it had prior to its biggest rally, right? So in this case, we have support down here at 12, which it came down to. But this stock right here, it's kind of slow. It's kind of slow in the way it's accumulating. Goes up from 144 down to 12. We have a double bottom, macro double bottom here. And then take a look at this. So this is what I have so far on in Wyckoff terms, right? We have the accumulation, reaccumulation, and then advancing. Advancing, I think, is going to happen sometime in the middle of the year. We might have a short-term pump here. It comes back up and grabs some liquidity up here, trade sideways. Reaccumulation, guys, is really good at crushing theta in options. Same with accumulation. Any distribution or accumulation phase is really good at just crushing theta. So time is against you on both of these. Advancing is where the money is at, because that is where very quickly you see volatility kick in, contracts, premiums start to rise very quickly. So that is what I'm waiting for here. I'm going to show you guys some reference patterns that I am currently tracking. There's two. All right, we got ourselves a fractal, which is manipulated in time. Okay, a fractal, we are manipulating the structure, but the levels are very relevant. That one is Lucid. Okay, you guys remember Lucid in 2021. Creates this macro cup with a nice double bottom with a spring, which I love on Sava's chart here. So it climbs back down, accumulates, same structure, reaccumulation, and then advancing. Now, my favorite one that I'm tracking right now is actually Riot on Sava. And the reason I like this one here is because this is a one-to-one pattern. So the one-to-one patterns, if the levels are the same, you start to see some of these indicators that are also showing good correlation. Even the price sometimes, man, volume, all that stuff is very important here. But look at this. So this is Riot down here. Here's the entire chart, one-to-one. Okay, so in this case, we have Sava. It peaks in August 2021, and we're way down here at the $25 range in almost 3 years later, right? So with Riot, same thing, right? January 2018, climbs down, accumulates, and then 4 years later, it basically reaches its high. So this thing is not expected to reach at least its highs here until a little bit closer to the end of the year. I think mid-year we might see it climb up here to that $70, $60 range very quickly. But I want to take a look at this reaccumulation phase down here, and I took the micro chart for this on Riot so you guys can see how freaking crazy it is here. But yeah, I mean, just look at that, bro. Reaccumulation going up to 40, climbs back down, and then just starts to go. So there's, potentially, this company does a lot of like Alzheimer treatment. They've got some probably catalysts coming up, right, to fit this narrative here on what this this macro chart is calling for. But this is one of the plays I think is going to be leading middle to the end of the year. I have it already tracked and set on the Discord. There's a list that we track stocks that are currently in accumulation, reaccumulation, and advancing. Same with the bearish side, right? Distribution and declining. So they're set on there. Just have them for reference. And this is one of them. We're also tracking Nikola. And I'm going kind of fast here, guys. I do a lot of different stock. We track a lot of stocks, man. We track a lot of stocks. So there's a few things with Nikola that to keep in mind, okay? Because Nikola looks like Carvana last year. Like we have the reaccumulation phase, and then it eventually crosses the $4 range, keeps going up. Nikola is, I think, one of the most like controlled stocks that I've seen. Just based on the algorithm pumping and dumping and holding this structure, which is just a spring, like just the one macro spring narrowing down until it pops, right? You see the volume coming in, it pops last year. Okay, it comes back down to the lows. It's currently trading at 60 cents. And dude, this stock, we're finally starting to see some the good thing about, and this is where like you got to take revenue into account, right? You got to, man. You got to. So we didn't see like revenue for the longest time on Nikola, right? There's a lot of FUD on this stock with the CEO and stuff, corruption, stuff like that. I get that, right? But now that dude is out of being CEO, right? Nikola's kind of handling its own thing. There's some good things coming up here. I think the entire EV sector is really just at a bottom right now. We have Lucid, Rivian, all these stocks that are just trading at all-time lows. So Nikola, and now that we get that kind of out of the way, right? We get the fundamentals out of the way. And guys, do your own like DD, right? You don't want to take just my approach here. Do your own DD at the end of the day, because it really does matter, right? So here are some reference stocks that we used on the pattern scanner. We have Blink. Hey guys, Blink is another EV. It's a relevant one to track here. This is like way back, I think 2016. When you find reference patterns in the same sector, that's gold, bro. Okay, so here is Blink, 2016. All right. Now the only difference is this, like, it was very dry in volume. I mean, this thing goes back to 2010, right? Nikola doesn't have that much historical bars, so we can't really track this volume. And anytime you see barcoding or volume is dry, I don't like using that. I like using a lot of volume to track these patterns. Now, a lot of the levels we're tracking here are very similar when it comes down to May. This is May, so it starts in May. That's where volume kicks in, and then this is like a macro accumulation phase. So there's a few possibilities here, and it all depends on how quickly we leave this range here. One of the things I think is very possible for Nikola in the short term is that it either has a what they call like a little dead cat setup on declining, which is right here, climbs back down, like a short-term pump, climbs back down, enters accumulation again, so a redistribution pattern, or a double bottom. And a double bottom is the more bullish scenario here. You have one bottom here, and the stock starts to turn around for good. Like, this is accumulation, it starts to turn around for good. So both I think are very likely. I don't see Nikola going down lower or much lower than this range, and I don't see it crossing its all-time low either. I think it's going to trade here and finally turn around very soon. So we got this guy right here calling for the 150 range. We have, man, I have so many patterns I'm tracking on Nikola because I'm just so bullish on it, man. Okay, let's see. AAOI was another one that we tracked on. And this one is we were paying attention to the levels here. 250. GME was another one. Okay, and then, yep, GME right here. So look at this one here, actually, guys. GME is currently, I mean, honestly, with GME, dude, I don't know if it's in accumulation or distribution, because originally I was calling for it to be in, and it's very much tracking like inverse to AMC GME, right? GME came back up to retest a level of resistance, and then right now it's just riding on that range, right? So we don't know if this is going to break up. If it does, might have a Sava situation here happening, being that it is holding above and hasn't came down to its lows yet. So, yeah, it's a little bit hard. But on this one, though, we do have a good correlation with Nikola, right? Nikola, it's just once it reaches that bottom, dude, this thing just popped. I forget what was, I was scanning all in one here. So, guys, if you want, dude, this indicator is dope as heck. All right, so this is, yep, there it is, man. For those wondering how this indicator works, this is like one of the ways I use like cycle analysis to my advantage, right? It's like 100 stocks that I care for, right? I don't want to track the entire market because there are many stocks in the market that just have no volume, and that's just, I mean, you're gonna see like straight lines, bro, for weeks. So I don't want to track those. Want to track stocks with nice volume. So DWOC right here in turquoise, we got, that's leading the game right now. We had and this takes the ROC of every stock so that it's fitted, right? You don't want to see every stock with its original price levels, or else they're all going to be, it's going to be crazy. So this takes the ROC, it normalizes the values of each stock so that they behave the same just based on the percentage they move up and down. Okay, so DWOC right here, you can see it comes up in October of 2021. That is where it had its PR. Look at that. AMC is over here. AMC just chilling, man, on this mid phase here with the markets. DWOC. This correlation here, it's pretty high too, being that a lot of cryptocurrencies that we're seeing go up right now have a correlation of climbing around this range. And guess what, man? This is calling for the EV sector to kind of go next. So we're going to see here very soon. But if DWOC peaks here in the next few days, this has Lucid climbing up in the next few days, and it has Nikola climbing up. I mean, it has the EV sector pumping. So it even has Tesla, bro. Tesla is a high cap stock, okay? Tesla's right here above the entire market. And Tesla, I'm kind of going all over the place, bro, but Tesla is also doing that same pattern, okay? That same pattern that I've been talking about here with most of these stocks. This one is descending, so it looks a little bit different than the Ethereum Classic one, which just kind of pumps like that, goes like that, and then it goes up. This one's descending. It doesn't really matter. But all of the ones that end up developing, I mean, these are just developing into it's just a parallel channel is what it is, right? It's a parallel channel. And if this starts to pump here in the next few weeks, okay, I think the entire EV sector is going to do that. Normally you see Tesla go first, and then just like, SPY goes up, and then you see the memes go up, when it starts to peak. Very similar situation with Tesla. It usually rallies first, and then you see all the EV stocks go after that. So it's just good for Nikola here. It's good for Lucid. It's good for the EV charging station stocks, right? Plug and ChargePoint, which have been absolutely beat. It's a good case for them, man. Okay, let's take a look at DWAC and ask away, guys. If you have any questions, ask away. Ooh, DWAC climbing back up. Alrighty, all right. Let's go. Here's the pattern we're tracking for DWAC. And again, now it seems to maybe be wanting to correct itself back up to the $55 range soon. But yeah, man, okay, let me bring you guys over to oh. Never mind. Never mind, because it's not turning on. Okay. I want you guys to check out the levels indicator here. Okay. Ooh, this is going to be very, very interesting depending on where we close today. I mean, I'm going to have a different projection based on where the price ends up. If it for some reason does not go above the 52 to 56 range, because it is a range, guys. I mean, these wicks go crazy, right? But if it doesn't do that, I still think on this trajectory here, as long as it's within this trajectory, it can come down, do something like that. I still think they're going to add those contracts. I mean, there's like 3 right now. There's only the 50 and the 55 that they have for the calls. So I think they're going to add probably 70, 75. They might even add more. And, come tomorrow, say this thing goes up after hours, it goes up to like 65 or something like that. I think that, come market open, that's where it starts dumping. If everybody's buying those calls and premiums, like, just take a look at AMC, right? June 3rd. What those guys did, man. Take a look at Amy. I got carried away there for a little bit. Wanted to show you guys this indicator here. So October has a good correlation too. I'm going to change this to 5 since I'm on the daily. So it's just tracking 5 days instead of tracking 50. And that way we can see the volatility. Okay, without the noise. So it just is limiting the threshold here. Again, DWAC winning right now. Okay. Yeah, I mean, when it opened, though, that is something else to, like, DWAC had opened up pretty high, so it didn't actually go up 800%. Come back to when it launched. See? It just kind of like, boop, goes up. Not everybody was able to buy right there, like right off the bat. 173. Okay, we got GameStop back here. Look at that. Reminiscing, GameStop. This is OCGN, or no, BNGO. AMC's down here. Okay, let's see. CGN, Enphase, Lucid, Trade Desk. Let me show you guys something. You guys know Save? Spirit Airlines, the whole merger thing that was supposed to happen or whatever. It's the only stock that look at the hit it took here. So I'm going to show you guys how I do this correlation thing here with this indicator. So Save, okay, Spirit Airlines goes down on, I'm on the daily here, it goes down to 60%. Taking a look at the daily candle. So I was like, I'm going to go back and see the structure of this here, how it played out with some of these other stocks that have done that. Okay, so not even using the pattern scanner here. I could do it just by looking somewhere else. Here's Upstart in May of 2022. Right, so you go to May of 2022, Upstart, find yourself a match. How the algorithm loves doing this. You go on Save. And I already have the pattern here pulled up because I was doing this. As soon as I found the match here on the drop, watch this. Okay. From the highs, the lows, 450. This is calling for $10. 950 before it climbs down. So far, it's been tracking. So let's go to May of 2022. It's right here. Isn't that cool, dude? Save. That way I'm not like looking for the entire market. I have a set list here. I did, so Save compared to Upstart May of 2022. And then there's a few other over here in 2021 that did the same thing. Crazy stuff, dude. Crazy, crazy stuff. Let's back up. May 12th. Takes about the same time, too. It bottoms on the 18th. Okay, and then look at that here. So Monday, the 16th, starts to climb back up. Okay, this is the 19th, 22nd, starts climbing back up. So yeah, with Save, it looks like what it wants to do is at least it wants, you can see down here, once you get that nasty big red candle right here, that acts as support on this redistribution, short-term redistribution phase. It just comes back up and then it ends up climbing back to its new lows. It takes about a month though for it to fully come down again, but that's what it's calling for, man. 950, 980 around there, and then a turnaround. DWAC. With DWAC, could do the same thing. Okay, so right now it's at 105. There's correlation right here with Carvana. Look at that. Carvana in February of 2023. That's good right there. I mean, I haven't even checked that one. Carvana 2023, February. Let's take a look at that. Right here. 5 days. Okay. 3 hour, 3 hour. see how fast. 2023 goes from the 31st, it peaks the 1st. So right here, and then it peaks the 1st. And it looks like it keeps going into the after-hour session. I mean, bro, it's 76. So it closes at around 73%. 78, bro. $22 days to reach its high. And 6 days here. 6, 20, 22 would be over here. So not a lot of correlation here. There's not a lot of volume, which is fine. Those 6 days. Let's see what 6 days is here. Okay, 6 days is right there. Okay, volume coming in. So it looks like the algorithm right now is favoring this box right here. 18% from the bottom on the 27th. It looks like this is tracking about a week behind. Look at that, 175. Now this right here, this candle is saying in the after-hour session, and let's see if it hits the target that we're calling for, because the target I'm calling for right now is 55, so this is 217. Dude, look at that, 217 is at 56. So, like, this is what I'm saying, guys. So, not that this has to play out at all, but these are levels that I consider based on historical patterns. Like, it's just reference patterns, man, because it, like, we track patterns in general, like in the market, you track patterns, right? And you're tracking a flag or a cup. I mean, this is just a different version of that using another pattern that has already done that. And they're always going to be slightly different. They're not going to be exactly the same. 80%. Okay, 60% there before climbing up. Okay, 76. By 4 p.m., though, you do see a nice candle down here, but only at 163, which is currently at 174 from the bottom. From the start of the day at, I'm going to say 3 a.m., we're at 79, and then down here, (6 a.m.) Yeah, look at that, 68% from the bottom. Potentially 7. Yeah, I mean, it's close, dude. It is close. I like that. Again, using the all-in-one indicator. Very few stocks that have done this within the last year. CGC, I believe, is this one. Yep, CGC. So that's not relevant because it's way higher. And then you can even, I go way back to 2021. Now, like, that's just the reason it's relevant right now is because it's currently trading in that range, right? If we close at the 110 range, this pattern becomes more valid because that's where it stopped. But if this goes over and it goes to 130, I mean, then at that point, this pattern is probably no longer relevant to track because, like, there's a lot of percentage they're missing. And then you start to look at some of these other stocks over here for that. So there's quite a bit over here. Stefan, I actually do, man. I do have an indicator that tracks volume. Got it right here. Okay, very similar to the changes indicator. There's a few different things I track on this, but the cool thing about this down here is, think of market cap, right? Those stocks that have that nice market cap chart basically just eliminates any splits from any dilution. So with AMC, you're going to have a version of that chart, and that's kind of what this indicator does. Is it multiplies volume times price, and then it gives you, also scans it based on a. So I have a smoother set here, but it's basically smoothing out, taking the entire volume into consideration here on the daily. But yes, I do have that here now. This honestly represents probably the price of a security better than the chart it does itself, right? Now, most of stocks in the market are not going to have, I think, or at least reverse splits in place. So that's why this right here looks very similar to DWAC's chart here. But yes, I do have an indicator that does that volume right here. Let's go on the 5-minute. Okay, the cool thing about this indicator is that it respects the support and resistance levels very well. That's how I spot these breakouts too, is using this indicator. So I'm on the 1 minute here. Okay, and just like changes does too, changes being an ROC indicator. Okay, so any, for example, here, the price is going up. So there's always going to be some kind of divergence with the volume and the price. Okay, but this indicator, since it combines them both, it's easier to spot breakouts. So I use it a lot to spot breakouts. We have a cross right here. Green volume starts kicking in. Price starts to rise. And then treating it like a regular stock, right? Look at that. You can't really see that with the stock. Like, the stock hasn't came down to support yet. But down here in volume, you multiply the two, it's basically down there already. So sometimes this is a way to understand if the price has broken through, it's likely that, well, the price is going to start climbing back down because it just broke a level of support. So I treat it that way. Mostly use it for breakouts than anything, but it does help me understand, just the way volume behaves and works with any stock. Right? I use this a lot on crypto. IWN. IWN is actually the ticker I use for the ETF I use for the smoothing here. So you see this line here in black is the average of basically all of these stocks combined, because it's the one ETF that I think has the majority of them. I'm not going to use SPY on there because, well, SPY doesn't have as much. I'm not saying IWM has as much volatility either, but it has most of the indicators, or I'm sorry, it has most of the tickers that I'm tracking on that list. Okay, so for this one, yeah, and like, yeah, dude, you can see already it briefly broke, and I love this setup too, because it briefly broke resistance, came back down, and I think it's ready to turn around, dude. Like, this looks and I can definitely run it on the scanner. Sure, actually, I should probably do that. Show you guys a little bit of how the scanner works. I'm about to clock my computer to the max with this. Run the scanner with it. I'm using like I don't use an external server. I'm using my computer to run the scanner here, so it definitely clocks its capacity. So because it's a lot of data, right? It's a lot of data. But let's run it over here and see what we got. It's gonna take like 5 minutes, and the stream might be a little choppy, but it's all good. Okay, so on the daily chart and with indices, I use the daily. I pretty much focus on the daily and the weekly, and I don't really use the minutes for the indices. Hourly, 4 hour. Okay, so levels indicator, very good at telling us oversold and overbought territory. Okay, once you come back in, typically if there's high volatility, you're going to see the stock, turn around, come back into oversold territory. It's highlighted in green and red. But in this case, you can see right here on the weekly chart, it comes in and it just accumulates, right? It's just, well, actually it's in a redistribution phase because it actually ends up coming down. So after breaking out and bouncing off of these walls, we finally got that breakout here, and it's starting to turn around. It's looking really good. If the markets end up holding here, now that we have the small and mid-cap stocks getting ready to finally turn around, you're going to see, I think, IWM beat the markets here. So it is going to look, and it does look different than SPY. So yeah, it should break out here. We should start to see finally some green. I'll run it to the through the pattern scanner, let you guys know. It's probably going to have a lot of matches with, like stocks that are in that mid to small cap territory. Yeah, awesome. Guys, another thing, I do have and I updated it recently here. I do have a options calculator also available. Something that, and you do have to, have your own custom strike and stuff. If I go to Nicola or something, it'll fix itself a little bit here. So this right here is just a tool using the Greeks and calculations to be able to project what the price of a contract will be by a certain date. So it's really cool. I use this every single day. You can break your strike price, quantity. The only thing that this does not have, and you do have to get this from your broker or whatever, is the implied volatility. So this is the only thing, and the only thing that is important. If I change this, it's going to drastically change the values down here. So it won't work. And the reason for that is, TradingView doesn't have options. So that's why I have this indicator, right? Is because, well, if TradingView is not going to give it to me, man, you're going to find a way until they have the option chain, man. I want to see option charts. I think option charts are very relevant. And the fact that they don't have them, I think is very sus. So, yeah, I have this. Check it out on the Discord below. It's like 6 indicators that I have out for you guys to use. Let's see if when the pattern scanner comes up, man, and show you guys the IWM thing here. DWAC, let's see how it's doing real quick. Look at that, 70. So coming back up. Really just killing some contracts here is what it's doing. Got that little theta theta channel. We call these little theta channels because when there's high volatility, now it is Monday, so it's not going to affect them that much. But when there is high volatility, you also have to consider like high volatility and theta are kind of like in a way cancel each other out. But it because volatility, guys, like once this thing comes down, it goes down like crazy, right? But if it's going to trade in a channel here, it is going to affect contracts. It would be a lot worse if it was like Thursday or Friday, you know, for contracts that expire this week. But yeah, no, it is trading in a channel, so it looks like, and we got 20 minutes left. It looks like we're probably going to either end somewhere here, unless we get a final breakout here and it starts to rise. Okay, let's see what the pattern scanner is looking like. It's almost done. I'll show you guys how it works. The version I have for the pattern scanner right now is not, it's a demo version. So it's not the one that we've been working on for a while now. This one scans the indicator, the changes indicator, values, and it kind of narrows down the results in a way. So that's why I use it. Sometimes some stocks, they just have ridiculous price levels, and with the method we're using for scanning, it might not be the best approach. So changes indicator is there to help. All right, there it is. All right, we got the scan. We got the matches, man. All right, give me a second real quick so I can make this thing fit. Where is it? Where is it? Here it is. Cool. All right, here is the scanner. Okay. So, here are the matches. Here is IWM. And here is the changes value. So the changes value is not going to be the same as the price of the chart here. It's going to use the changes indicator for that. And I do this on purpose again for this specific scanner. So these are all the matches that it found. And you can see, I mean, they're like almost identical, right? From the low to the high. I mean, look at this one. I've already found a pretty decent one that I want to track. But here we got KR. Is that what, Kroger? In October of 2019. This one did bounce on it looks like the 5% range. So I would like to see something that bounces there too. XOM here, actually, that looks pretty good. It bounces too. Let's do that. Okay, so XOM, November 2021. Here's a pattern scanner, November of 2021. Hey, look, here's our little V-shaped pattern. Looks like over here is the correlation. November. So it had already bounced November 2021, and then see, August 2021. All right, let's take the. 124 days. There we go. Okay. So this is, I'm going to tell you guys why I like this pattern. Okay. I like this because, and I don't know if I'm going to be, yeah. Oh my God, bro. Okay. So this is why I like this pattern, because not only is there correlation in that, so this is a V reversal here. It's a V reversal, and then you have a very short cup, right? So it's a cup or a very short handle, right? And that's, it seems like that's what's happening here. Now, if we take a look at other stocks in the market that also have that structure happening right now, right here, we have Tesla. Tesla's doing the same thing. It's descending, but it's doing the same thing. Okay? So I like that. I like it. I think it looks a little bit better on Tesla. I think Tesla is just the overall everything really, everything on this one. And there's a lot more. I mean, that's just one of the patterns I used. But I really like Tesla on this one. Taking it from here, actually, do that. So with both calling for upside, but I think that using Tesla for it, I mean, this is another pattern, guys, I'm using here on Tesla. It's not the same one. It's just to show that, I mean, most of these are the same. Just they're slightly different. The structure is the same though. Cools. Yeah, man. I'm working on a Discord function to have this version, this demo of the scanner up so that it could be a bot, acted like a bot, input the ticker, the amount of bars, and have it spit out a interactive version of the chart I just showed you guys with the scanner. So hopefully I have that out soon for you guys to check out. All right, for the last few minutes here, let's take a look at DWAC and see what it's doing. Okay, it's up at 80, man. It's going to 80. It looks like it just broke its high. Let's see if it holds. Breaks here. Yeah, Rum is making a move. There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot that are making moves right now. A lot of stocks are looking really good right now. Eek. Oh man, this pattern here is looking really interesting. Let's take a look at a few stocks that we can track for reference. A few stocks, a few cryptocurrencies we can track for reference. And I like to track, like, if it's high volatility stocks, man, I'm going to track high volatility cryptocurrencies. So it's probably a little bit better if I do ordinals. Okay. I think this is the structure we're seeing happening right now on the try to pull it up. A version, at least a version of it. Creates a high, and then basically, this is like the little theta channel we had talked about. It just keeps testing this high. It hasn't broken it yet. It wants to right here. Once it breaks it, though, you tend to see a pretty big volatility event, like we're seeing right here. But I think this is what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a version of this before the price comes down. And if we come up to that, like I said, that $55 range was the target. Okay, let's see how these guys and these market makers react to this, because if they add, option strike 70 above that, dude, it's gonna be a shit show, I think. Look at that, breaking above it. All right, let's see. Back to the pattern we were tracking right here earlier today. It tracked up to 130. Look at that. At 130, it started to do its own thing. But it doesn't really matter, man, because if it comes up and it hits the same levels that this pattern is calling for right now, then levels check, man. Levels check. Here's another version. $88, man. 88%. Jeez. IMX, man. IMX. And there's one more Luna Classic that I want to track. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right. So for quick, and this seems to be like a quick volatility pattern I would track, and then probably not track it up to anywhere else, like the rest of it. I mean, it could, right? It could. I'm going to use it anyways, but I just want to show you guys. So this is the absolute peak we have on using just this pattern here. I had like from here, seems to be right there. You guys see that? Okay, so see, this is pretty crazy, right? Like this is calling for now 70, which going back to 2021 with AMC, I mean, it did this. Like this is not something that we haven't seen before. But I do like the AMC levels better, like the macro AMC levels that we're seeing a little bit better. So it's always, I use a lot of reference patterns. It's not just one. When I see a phase or section of a cycle phase that I'm used to, if I see that, I'm going to use the patterns that I know and go from there. Because yeah, man, a lot of the times they're pretty accurate. Wow, so 70, this would be 70 and then back down. I mean, from there, that's the high. Like, that's the absolute high on Luncy before it crashes back down. So yeah, I think the high is coming. It's close. It's definitely close, I think. But it looks like our targets. Here's target 55. Hey, 5 minutes, man. Yeah, IMX, man. IMX killing it. The entire crypto market killing it. I think we're on a short term. And for those wondering with crypto, I know there are a few, but just like a really quick, I think the crypto markets are just going to take a quick breather back down. Might see a spring setup on Bitcoin. So I think volatility is expected to come in the next few weeks. And this is a retest on a macro bullish trajectory. So what that means is like if Bitcoin is right here and it's like that, I think it's just going to do this and then turn around, back around. I think we're just in a short-term correction, following the whole like ETF thing, like it can't be bullish from there. Like we've seen that with Pepe, we've seen that with every stock in the market. Any bullish news in the market is typically followed by short-term bearish. Yeah, it's just short-term bearish, man. But awesome, guys. Look, appreciate you guys all coming in today. It was fun. Like I said, I'm planning on doing this more often now, and want to kind of cover the entire market here and the entire market's potential using the cycle. Well, I said the cycle's back, man. And yeah, if you go to the beginning of the video, it talks about the AMC cycle and how I think this is relevant, being that right now we're seeing a lot of these stocks track what other cryptocurrencies are doing right now and what they have done. If you just came into the chat, we just talked about how for the first 4 hours in the market here, we were tracking this pattern right here, which is something that we saw LRC do last night. So is that just like, why, bro? Like it pumped and dumped. I wonder why. I wonder where this liquidity went, guys. I wonder where this liquidity went. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Okay, this right here that you're looking at is this pattern up here. Okay, so is that chance? We got this stock up here that does not, or cryptocurrency does not hold. And not only does it dump, it goes up 20%, and then it dumps back lower. Where is this liquidity at? So just my 2 cents, man. My thoughts. All right, like that's why I think the cycle's back. All right, awesome, guys. Thank you for coming in. Market's about to close. Keeping an eye out for DWAC and the markets. And make sure you guys like this video before you dip out. Subscribe if you haven't, and check out the Discord for a lot more action. And the indicators are going to be on there for you guys. Awesome. Take care. Bye-bye.